Hey guys, welcome back to Stuff. If you were followers of my channel, it's been a while. I last uploaded about a year ago, maybe more. That was of a drinking game that I made called Tequila Seasoning Fruit. And I promised after that there would be a build video coming soon. Well, soon is relative, but here it is. This is the part one of the build video, which talks you through part of the game, and then part two of the video, which is also uploaded at the same time, talks about the box. And for those of you who can't remember, the game looked a bit like this. So yeah, I will walk you through the build for that game in this video. So if you like it, comment, subscribe, like, all that stuff. So yeah, let's get on with it. The first step in this build was to do some 3D modelling of the game. I did that in Autodesk Fusion, which you can get a personal license for if you're not using it for commercial use. I knocked up all the bits, and this would also serve as the files which will be used to do the CNC cutting later on, because I didn't cut all these bits out by hand. The first thing I started with, once I'd done all the modelling, was actually not the woodwork, it was a bit of metalwork. So I borrowed my friend Colin's lathe to make the centre axle on which everything would spin. So this was like a three-tiered axle. The one bit would stick into the base, and then a set of bearings would be held on the other two bits, and the top tier would screw onto the top. So yeah, use the lathe to make that, and then cut a thread on the top which would hold a nut that was in the top tier later. Once I got onto the woodwork, the first job is to mill some lumber. So I just used the thicknesser and the jointer to get the planks to the size that I wanted. Then I could cut them on the chop saw, ready for the glue up. And now I was gluing up 3 panels for each of the 3 tiers, just in a normal way, using some parallel clamps to stick them all together. With the panels glued up, I just gave them all a light sand using the disc sander, made sure they were flat, and then it was on to the CNCing. The CNCing was done using my friend Ben's homemade CNC kit, which is very good. It uses the Fusion 360 models to create the cutting paths, and then yeah, we can just cut out all of the pieces using the CNC router, which is absolutely fantastic. So thanks to Ben, otherwise without him I wouldn't have been able to do this project. With the CNC complete, it was time to do some resin filling of all the lettering and the dividers on the tiers of the game. Before I started doing any sort of resin, I just gave everything a quick rough up in all of the edges, so to provide a key, and then I used some clear resin in order to just seal all of the sides, so that there wouldn't be any leaching of the resin colouring into any of the rest of the wood. Once the sort of first coat of the resin had dried, I gave that little bit of a rough up just to provide another key, and then mixed up the resin with the pigments. This time I was using metallic black and metallic gold just to be a bit fancy. With that mixed up, I could just pour it into the lettering and fill up all of the gaps in each of the tiers. With the resin dry, it takes about 36 hours to dry on this because it's quite a thick pour. In hindsight, I probably didn't need to cut the all of the lettering at 5mm deep. I could have probably gone with 2mm or 3mm. It probably had the same effect. But with it all dry, I could get to sanding. The first was quite rough just to get it all back to level, and then I went right up to 1200 grit to get a proper sort of mirror shine on the resin. On the top tier, where the tequila was going to sit, you can see that there was a CNC'd hexagon. That allowed me to push a nut in there with just some 2-part epoxy, just so that would stick, and that was going to screw onto the top of the axle later. And also in the top, the 4 holes were for some lights. So I bought myself some switches and some LED bulbs and some wire off of eBay and got to soldering up just a simple lighting circuit to allow the tequila bottle to be lit up. And with the lighting circuit complete, I just added that to the base, and that was all glued in with a glue gun, and I added some more clear resin to the top of the lenses just so that the top was flush and no liquid, if any was spilt, could go down into the circuits. The bearings for each of the tiers were glued in using some 2-part epoxy just on the outer race, making sure I didn't get it on the inner race so that it spins nicely. And then I also drilled a hole in the base which would hold the spring with a ball bearing arrow darted to the top, which would act as the clicker. And with all those bits complete, time for a good oiling. So my standard 3 coats of Danish oil, and it was all looking smashing. The last thing to do was put some rubber feet on each of the corners of the base just to lift it off the table and make it sit nice, and then onto assembly, giving everything just one last wipe before doing so. And the top screws on, and that was that complete. So there we go, that was part 1 of the video. Part 2 is coming up soon, which will be the box build. So yeah, remember, stay safe, get some stuff done.